Hello everyone, back in today's second video doing GWV Sunday Round Up for today's second video. So it's going to be your Sunday afternoon eclectic mix of this and that. We're going to be looking at things like activity, sea surface temperature, anomalies, Eurasian and Siberian snow cover and Arctic size extent, the QBO, the AO, the NAO, and the weather for next week, 10 days and beyond. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we go through Gav's Weather Sunday Round Up for another week. So just to say that the first video released today was the 6th Summer 2020 update. So that's a bit of a solar special. We're looking at summers that are occurring around solar minimum. Quite an interesting watch, that one, even if I do say so myself. And, of course, we've got the ECOGF Meteo France and DWV long range update coming up for you in an hour or so's time. And then between 5 and 6 o'clock on the channel, we're going to have a live stream where we're going to let everybody check in and see how we're all doing as we go through this period of lockdown and self-isolation and everybody's stuck indoors. So we're going to be doing a live stream between 5 and 6 o'clock. Let everybody in the GWV community come together and see how we're all doing during this period of crisis. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to say a big thank you to our latest GWV YouTube channel member. So every person that becomes a channel member is going to get a shout out within a video, their own individual shout out. So our second GWV YouTube channel member is Transport Manchester. Transport Manchester, thank you so much for becoming our second YouTube channel member. If you would like to become a YouTube channel member for GWV, all you need to do is click the join button just there. You see it on the GWV YouTube homepage, and also with the videos, click join, and for £4.99 a month you get various benefits and perks for becoming a GWV YouTube channel member. I'm totally blown away by how many channel members we already have. I've only been doing this since Friday, and clearly there's a big demand for it. So a big thank to everybody that has signed up so far. You will all get your own individual shout out. Take me a little while now to get round to everybody because it's just been such a phenomenal response. But everybody is going to get their own individual shout out in a video when they become a GWV YouTube channel member, as well as all of the other benefits and perks that you will get for becoming a channel member. There's also Patreon as well, of course, so let's not forget our lovely patrons. We've got 63 patrons so far. Hello, and a big thank you to our 63 patrons. If you would like to become a patron, again, all you need to do is go to GWV's Patreon page, sign up for a Patreon account, assuming you don't already have one, then give an ongoing monthly donation. Could be anything from $1 a month upwards to GWV's, and that's how you will become a patron for GWV. I have found out last couple of days that in the second half of the year, Patreon will start allowing payments in pounds. So a few people have been concerned about dollars payments and transaction fees, all of that sort of thing, but that won't be a concern through the second half of the year. I'm not sure when they're going to switch over, but you will be able to start making payment in pounds with Patreon apparently in the second half of the year. I haven't been informed about that from Patreon, but I found out through the comments at the channel. Actually, somebody posted a comment about it, and I checked it up, and yes, that is correct, but in the second half of the year, Patreon will allow the payments to be taken in pounds, so that's going to be very useful. From the Patreon point of view, there's also PayPal, of course. If you'd like to give a donation with PayPal, again, you just come to GWV's PayPal page, you sign into your PayPal account, and then you can give whatever donation you'd like to GWV. However you do it, whether you do it through YouTube, whether you do it through Patreon, whether you do it through PayPal, you'll get a mention in the videos. We'll give you a shout out and say thank you so much for doing that. So a big thank you to our donors, big thank you to our patrons, and also big thank you to our YouTube channel members. Special thank you to the latest channel member, Transport Manchester. Thank you so much, Transport Manchester, for becoming our latest YouTube channel member for GWV. Right, let's get on. I'm going to start off by having a look at the solar disk on Outside today from solarham.net. And we have a spotless solar disk again today. There is no sunspots on the visible, no visible sunspots anyway, on the solar disk today. So we've been saying this week after week after week. We are at solar minimum, and we're going to remain at solar minimum for the next 3 days at least. What am I talking about? We're going to remain at solar minimum for the next several weeks and possibly months. And solar activity is at very low levels and will remain at very low levels for the next 3 days at least. Right, let's move on to the solar tracker. Actually, I'm finding that the tabs are refreshing as we go along, so I'm going to pause the video. I'll refresh the tabs, and then we will have the tabs refreshed, and there won't be any of that refreshing going on, but it is rather annoying as we go through the tabs. So I'll see you in around a second's time. Right, that's it back, and all tabs are refreshed, so we shouldn't have any more of that annoying refreshing of tabs as we go through them. That tends to put me up my stride a little bit, so I always like to have the tabs nice and refreshed before doing the recording, but sometimes it doesn't quite work out. Right, so before we had to stop the video, we were talking about the solar disk. So solar disk is spotless, there's no visible sunspots at the moment, and solar activity therefore is at very low levels and expected to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days at least. And of course, that's exactly what you expect when you're around solar minimum, as we currently are. This is the updated GWV solar activity tracker sent through by good friend James Ackroyd. James' recovery is continuing, I am pleased to say. So James is getting better and better from the operation he had a few weeks ago. And there we go. We have got the solar tracker today. So this is showing solar activity, how solar activity has been performing over the past few weeks and months. Lots of coloured lines here, but most important ones are the thick orange, green and red lines. They are our trend lines. The red lines are indicating each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. So when you see a spike like that, that's basically saying that on that day there were sunspots. But you'll notice that in between those spikes we get long intervals where we don't have any orange spikes. And of course that is when there are no sunspots visible on the solar disk. We did go through a period of slight more activity back in January, just through there. A very minimal level of solar activity, but we did get a few days strung together through the middle part of the winter, but it did have a few sunspots, but become very quiet again since then. So again, you see long stretches here, long stretches without any sunspots. Just one or two here and there. The odd day has a visible sunspot, but overall we can clearly see from the way the thick red and green lines, which are the trend lines, we see how they are sort of flatlining away on the chart, and the orange line too, that essentially we remain at solar minimum, and we won't know when we've left solar minimum. Of course, let's talk about this in the summer analogues video, 6th summer update. We won't know when we've left solar minimum until it's happened, until we get an announcement from NASA to say, yes, we started solar cycle number 25. So that's why for this year's summer update, we again have to look at summers occurring both before, during and after solar minimum, because we don't know precisely when we're actually going to leave solar cycle 24 and go into solar cycle 25. It's possible it's already happened, but I think actually it's still going to be a few weeks, maybe a month or two away before it happens. So we will be entering solar cycle number 25 very, very soon now. I would have thought certainly within the next few months it should happen, but we remain at solar minimum for the time being, and yeah, solar activity is at very, very low levels. And the reason we look at this is that particularly in winter there's an association between having low levels of solar activity and increased risk of northern blocking, especially as we come out of solar minimum, interestingly. So the first couple of winters of the new solar cycle tend to have the best chance of being colder due to northern blocking. But of course it's not a guarantee of anything. It doesn't guarantee that you'll have a cold winter, but it does load the dice a little bit in favour of more northern blocking and a colder winter, probably through a reduction in energy to the jet stream. I would have thought that's the main connection there. So yes, solar minimum continues, and we confirm that with the solar tracker. Big thank you to James for sending that through for us. This has been sent through by our good friend Richard Short as well. This is showing spotless days and the current spotless days by year and the current spotless stretch. Now, I've got to time this just right, because you'll see that the column is moving downwards. So I've got to time this right with the highlighter. That should be about right just there. Okay, that's not that moving down. Right, so for 2020, we have so far had 84 days of the year, this year, without any sunspots. That is 77% of the year so far. That is deep, deep solar minimum, and it remains, in a percentage term, very similar to 2019. 2019 had 281 days without sunspots, which, of course, was 77% of the year again. So this tells us that we are certainly within deep solar minimum at the moment. We certainly haven't come out of solar minimum by any means. And that compares to 2018, which had 221 days without sunspots. That was 61% of the year. 2017 had 104 days without sunspots. That was 28% of the year. So you see how the last few years have gone on. We have had more and more days without sunspots. That compares to the last solar minimum down here. Of course, that began around 2007, really, when we had 152 days without sunspots. That's 42% of the year. And then 2008 was the true solar minimum year of solar cycle 23. That had 268 days without sunspots. That was 73% of the year. 2009 had 260 days without sunspots. That was the first year of solar cycle 24. 260 days without sunspots. That was 71% of the year. So actually it looks like this is a very slightly deeper solar minimum from solar cycle 24 to 25 than even solar cycle 23 to 24. Quite interestingly, that was the deepest and longest solar minimum for over a century. But this one, going from solar cycle 23 to 24, it's going from solar cycle 24 to 25, I should say. This one is an even deeper solar minimum. So yes, just going to show you that we're probably in for another very quiet solar cycle, I would have thought, with 25, because when you have a long solar minimum and a very deep solar minimum, it tends to have an effect on the rest of the solar cycle. You tend to have a weaker solar cycle. So I would imagine solar cycle 24 will be as weak, solar cycle 25 will be as weak as 24, and maybe even weaker. We'll have to wait and see about that. Big thank you to James and Richard for sending those through. Right, moving on to sea surface temperature anomalies. So this is how the oceans were looking last week. We did last week's GWV Sunday Round Up. We've got the equatorial Pacific Ocean just here. We've got the northern Pacific over here, and then we've got the North Atlantic over there. That's our three areas of interest. That's how things were looking last week. This is the very latest. So dealing with the ENSO region, quite interesting what's happening in the ENSO region, because we can see that actually been a bit of warming taking place in the ENSO region over the past week. So again, that's how things were looking when we did last week's GWV Sunday Roundup. This is the latest, and over towards the Peruvian side, anyway, just here, we have seen a little bit of warming of the equatorial Pacific Ocean in the past week. We're still at ENSO neutral, really on the warm side of ENSO neutral, but quite interesting. But as the forecasts continue to, or some of the forecasts anyway, of the models continue to point us towards a La Nina, towards a cold event, we're still seeing very little sign, or even no sign of it, really, in terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies in the equatorial Pacific. So quite what's going on at the moment. It's a very confused picture, but then it often is around this time of year as we're at the spring predictability barrier. So when we come out of that, then we will get a clearer idea, and that will be sort of end of May, early June probably. Going north into the northern Pacific Ocean, again, this is how things looked when we did last week's Gaz Weather Sunday Roundup. This is the very latest. Very little change, except this warmer area just here is beginning to infiltrate towards the coast of Alaska, Canada, and North America. So where it's been quite cold through here, it is warming up by this warm blob here in the deeper waters of the Northern Pacific Ocean. We've still got this area of cold and average sea surface temperature anomalies off the coast of North America, though. Overall, still quite chilly in that northeastern corner of the Pacific, but we have seen over the past few years this area has tended to be quite warm, and we do have this warm sort of mass just here. So I would imagine in the next few weeks we'll probably start to lose some of these cold and average sea surface temperature anomalies, particularly around here. These ones just here will take, excuse me, will take longer to go, but I would imagine up here we'll probably see things warming up in the next few weeks, because that's tended to be the trend over the past few years. In the North Atlantic, again, let's go back to last week with North Atlantic sea surface temperature anomalies. Again, that situation last week. This is situation this week. So it's getting ever warmer in the tropical Atlantic down here around and to the south of the Cape Verde Islands. And that's one of the areas where we start kicking off tropical storms when we get through to the summer and into the autumn. A lot of the thunderstorms that are the genesis for tropical storms and hurricanes begin just as thunderstorms, clusters of thunderstorms around the Cape Verde Islands. And you see it is very much warmer than average through that area. It's been going on for a few weeks now. If it was to continue into the summer, especially if it was to be combined with descent into La Nina, then this would all support the idea of a very active tropical storm and hurricane season. Also looks quite warm still in the Gulf of Mexico. If that's sustained through to the summer and autumn, then that could bring the risk anyway, some higher impact tropical storms and hurricanes onto that southern coast of America. So that's something to watch out for the United States. Going further north into the North Atlantic, still have cold and average sea surface temperature anomalies up here. They are fading a little bit compared to what they were a few weeks ago, though. So that's how things looked last week. You see how extensive those blue colours were last week. This week, not quite as extensive. It looks like the North Atlantic is beginning to warm up a little bit. But still cold and average to the south of Greenland in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean, and very much warmer than average with the sea surface temperature anomalies through the tropical Atlantic. CFSV2 continues to point towards a cold event, towards the La Nina, so we've got the temperature anomalies on the side of this chart, dates on the bottom in monthly periods, so you can see that the all-important numbers are 0.5, whether that's above or below average. Above average is the all-important number for El Nino, 0.5 below average, half a degree below average is the all-important number for La Nina. Where we are right now is on the warm side of ENSO neutral, actually sort of into borderline weak El Nino type territory, really. But yes, the CFSV2 still going for this descent into a La Nina through the sun. You see where black dashed line, which is the ensemble mean, is dipping ever downward. So by the time you get through to July, we are into a weak La Nina, and then that descent continues into the autumn, reaching sort of moderate La Nina threshold by sort of October, November. By the end of the year, we're down to 1.5 degrees below average, which is getting towards moderate La Nina territory. So the CFS is not backing off from this at all, and although there is no sign whatsoever of the La Nina in terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies in the actual Pacific Ocean at the moment, the CFS is not by any means backing away from its forecast for a La Nina for a cold event it's getting going through this summer. So we're going to have more about this in our ENSO update, which we're going to do on Friday. That'll be released on Friday evening. We'll get several models together then and see what those models are showing in terms of ENSO. But definitely the CFS is not backing away from it. So if we do eventually finish up going into a La Nina in this summer, it will be hats off, I think, to the CFS, because it's been going for this since about January. And it's not backing away from it yet either. This is how the Southern Oscillation Index is looking. So remember, it's just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state in the Pacific Ocean. It's measuring air pressures between Darwin and Tahiti. When the SOI is in its negative phase, the atmospheric setup is reflective of El Nino. When the SOI is in its positive phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. And of course, to get either an El Nino or a La Nina going, a proper one, then you need to have the ocean coupling with the atmosphere, really, and that's how you drive these ENSO events. So we've been trading negativity and positivity, which is what's kept us at ENSO neutral. Really, the atmosphere has neither been in a consistent El Nino or a consistent La Nina state. So, for example, we have the 6th and 7th of April just here, going down to -10 and -8 respectively for the SY. Then the 8th of April goes to +6. Then we have a couple of very positive days on the 12th and the 13th of April, +15 and +16. That's atmospheric state that's quite strongly reflective of a La Nina, but not lasting very long. By the 15th of April, we're back down to -5. 16th of April, we're back down to -16. 17th of April, down to -18. That's an atmospheric state that's very strongly reflective of an El Nino. The latest number for the 19th of April, they're ahead of us, of course, in Australia, is +15.14, so back into a La Nina type territory with the atmospheric state. While we continue to trade negative and positive numbers like this, we will remain at ENSO neutral. Neither state will be able to get a foothold. Neither state will be able to get an ascendancy. We do see the 30-year average, which is this red line, ticking up a little bit. So a few days ago, it was down here, back in the earlier part of April, somewhere around -7. Now it's up here, going up to around -4. So I have seen a slight increase in the 30-day SOI average, but we still remain solidly at ENSO neutral with the atmospheric setup in any case. Now this is showing Eurasian snow cover and Arctic surface extent. I haven't shown this for a couple of weeks. I tend not to show this as much at this time of year. Generally, we're just thawing things out now across Russia, Siberia, and Scandinavia. So I tend not to show it quite as much for this time of year, but somebody emailed me to say that they're missing it. So I thought we'd include it for this week. But you won't see it as much over the next few weeks, particularly when Eurasia becomes snow-free, as it will in the next few weeks. The whole of Siberia and Russia will become snow-free. And that will last for several weeks, so there'll be no point showing this chart then until we begin to increase the snow cover again in the autumn, and then you'll see it every week as part of the winter updates, of course. But the snow line is receding back, as you would expect at this time of the year. So we see that the snow line now is like that. So much of western Russia has now become snow-free. Most parts of southern Scandinavia snow-free, as they were through much of winter, actually. And around the Baltic Sea, again, becoming increasingly snow-free through there. And that, of course, is as things are warming up, the snow cover is just melting and pulling further and further back into the interior of Siberia. There's still some snow cover over the Alps, for example, but again, most parts of Europe never had any snow cover through this winter. It's a terrible winter for snow cover through most of Europe due to the strong westerlies that we have. And so, yes, we see the snow line is increasingly pulling back into the middle of Russia. Further north, still plenty of Arctic ice, indicated by this yellow area just here, although the melt season is underway, as we've been talking about in the videos lately. This is from National Snow and Ice Data Centre. So the blue line here is Arctic size extent for this year, for 2020. So at one point back in winter, we were doing quite well for Arctic size extent. We was up here, but have seen quite a drop-off in Arctic size extent over the past week or two. Although you can see now the blue line is just beginning to stabilise. So we did have for a couple of weeks, we did have quite a significant early melt, actually, when the blue line just dropped down quite dramatically. But you see that's levelling off at the moment. So for the time being, we have we have arrested the decline in Arctic surface extent. So I've been putting in our long-term averages. This is 2011 to 2019. So we're very close to that now, actually. For most of the winter, we was above the 2011 to 2019 average, quite significantly so for Arctic surface extent. But then we had the crash, of course, over the past couple of weeks, and that's taken us back very close now to the 2011-2019 average. Through the winter, we was on a par with the 2001 to 2010 Arctic sea ice extent average. We're now quite substantially under that, of course, after the melting that we're seeing during the past couple of weeks. And we never got close to the 91 to 2000 or 79 to 1990 average for green and orange lines up here. We never got close to those even in the winter, and of course we remain very significantly under those at the moment. So we have seen a bit of we have seen quite a significant decline in Arctic surface extent over the past 2-3 weeks, but in the past few days we have arrested that decline and things are now stabilising, at least for the time being. We'll continue to monitor that over the next few weeks. QBO as well. So this is from NASA. So this is showing the development of westerly and easterly phases of the quasi-biennial oscillation. The blue areas just here, these are where we've got the easterly QBO. The sandy coloured brown areas where we've got the westerly QBO. Think of this as like the top of the atmosphere up here. This is 10 HPA up in the stratosphere. This is down on the surface where we're walking around. So you can see that we've had an easterly QBO descending over the past few months, but struggling to descend. The easterly QBO has got to get to the 30 to 50 HPA level of the atmosphere. That's the troposphere. Essentially where weather takes place, to be really in an easterly QBO. And you see how over the past few months those blue and green colours just been kept at bay really by the westerly QBO, which has continued hung on by its fingertips within the troposphere over the past few months. However, we are now seeing an end of this westerly QBO definitively. Look how the easterly QBO is strengthening between 30 and 50 HPA. Those green and blue colours are getting deeper. So the easterly QBO is getting stronger now, and we're going to see an end to these raggedy brown coloured areas very, very soon. And we're well and truly on our way into a really strengthening easterly QBO now, and we're going to see the easterly QBO definitively taking over during the next few weeks. I'm quite certain of that. So yes, we've been sort of on borderline easterly QBO over the past couple of months, but now we are seeing definite strengthening of this easterly QBO. It's going to carry on through the rest of the year. Winter 2021 should be an easterly QBO, or will be an easterly QBO winter. Should be strong and mature easterly QBO winter as well. And when you're in the easterly QBO, you weaken the zona westerlies. So remember, all of these indexes are just reflecting the atmospheric state, don't drive anything in their own terms. When you're in an easterly QBO, you weaken the zona westerlies. When you're in a westerly QBO, you strengthen the zona westerlies. So an easterly QBO has an increased chance of being a cold winter, but it's not a guarantee. There have been many easterly QBO winters that have been mild. But anyway, the easterly QBO is definitively and well and truly on its way now. If we zoom in, you can just see how these blue and green colours are getting ever deeper. And so westerly QBO is being sort of destroyed both from the top and also from the bottom, and we're well and truly on our way into this easterly QBO now. Arctic oscillation observed and forecast looks like this. So the black line shows where we've been with the Arctic oscillation, red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic oscillation to go. Remember, it's just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. This time it's measuring air pressures in the Arctic. We've been very positive with the AO, you can see from the black line here, record-breakingly so back into the winter. We're still positive with the AO right now. Not anywhere near as positive as we was back in winter, but we are still positive with the AO. For the next couple of days, we're actually going to go more negative with the AO, but then we swing back up into positive territory again as we go into the end of April. There's no sign of an end, a definitive end to this positive phase of the AO, but we have been in pretty much since the beginning of December. been in this positive phase of the AO pretty much since the beginning of December, and it goes on. No sign of an end to it at the moment, and that tells us we continue to have low pressure up over the Arctic, although the polar vortex is getting ever weaker. North Atlantic Oscillation looks like this. So again, black line shows where I've been with the NEO, red lines at the end, where the GFS ensembles are forecasting NEO to go. Through the winter, we had a positive NEO, just as we had a positive AO. And then we see, as we go into April, though, we did have a period of negativity of the NEO. So the first half of April actually had a negative NEO. Where we are right now is weekly positive. GFS ensembles are keeping the NEO weekly positive through to the end of April, just to the start of May. So both of the indexes look relatively positive, and so we're not expecting any sort of dramatic changes, I don't think, over the next couple of weeks. Having both indexes positive like that late April might indicate the chart something a bit more unsettled, though. Have to see about that. Right, let's do some forecasting then, and we're going to have a look at the GFS upper air temperatures and precipitation ensembles next, and we're looking today at Marple in Stockport, and we've been asked to look at this by our YouTube channel member Transport Manchester. I mentioned at the start of the video, so Transport Manchester has asked us to have a look at Marple, which is in Stockport. If you'd like to have your local town or city featured within this section of video, then you can ask us through our social media accounts or email us at gazservice@gmail.com. We're always happy to feature your local town or city within this section of the video. So we start off above average, of course, with the upper air temperature. We're going to have several more days of quite warm weather coming up this week. Dates on the bottom. As we go through towards the end of April, we find a drop in the upper air temperatures taking place, returning back to the long-term average, really, although there is a little bit of scatter. These are cooler ensemble members here, these are warmer ensemble members just there. And into the early part of May, the opening days of May, overall looking very close to average with the upper air temperatures. So another week or so, quite warm weather, and then a bit of a cool down seemingly. Precipitation-wise, for Marple, we see that, yes, lots of dry weather coming up over the next few days, up to the weekend, basically. We're warmer and drier than average. Beyond that, though, into the last days of April and the first days of May, there is a more unsettled signal. We have got precipitation spikes coming through. So it looks like we're going to end April on a cooler and more unsettled note after a relatively warm and dry few days coming up to the weekend. But after that, the last 5 days of April, let's say, and then into the first days of May, it looks like things are going cooler and more unsettled if we take that ensemble graph at face value. Temperature anomalies on the 19th, 27th of April, round or a little bit above average. Quite a mild week coming up. Not as warm as it has been earlier on in the month with the anomalies, but still a bit on the above average side. Precipitation anomalies from the 19th, 27th of April, drier than average. So it remains basically dry and mild in the next few days anyway. This is how the midnight GFS run was looking. The 6 o'clock run is updating as I'm doing the video, but since we altered the clocks, of course, it comes out later, so we can only focus on the midnight run for GWV Sunday Round Up at the moment. So, yes, this is how midnight run of the GFS looking Wednesday. High pressure to our north, bringing in easy winds, lots of dry and fine conditions. That easy will have a bit of a chill to it, especially in the south and the east. Warmest temperatures will be in the west. Thursday and Friday, we lose the easterly, so temperatures will probably warm up in the second half of the week. But as pressure weakens, see a general weakening of pressure, we will probably start to see showers breaking out in the second half of the week. Into the weekend, and we saw this on the ensemble graph, of course, that just looked at, beginning to go more unsettled. So it's not desperately unsettled, but we're just seeing a weakening of pressure, bringing a renewed risk of showers, possibly some longer spells of rain getting going as we go for next weekend, and probably a decline in the temperature as well as winds begin to swing into the northwest. Again, it's not desperately unsettled, but just a little bit more changeable through next weekend. Up to day 10, we're trying to build a ridge back over Scandinavia, so this takes us to the last days of April, and we're beginning to build a Scandinavian high back up, but again, low pressure trying to come in from off the Atlantic. This is setting up a bit of a battle as we come into the start of May, with high pressure over Scandinavia, low pressure in the Atlantic. If it was winter, that would be a classic snowmaker, as the low pressure comes up against the Scandinavian high. You get weather fronts becoming slow moving and rain turning to snow. It's the 1st of May, so it's just going to be cold or cool and damp, I would have thought, with rain in the west, probably mostly dry in the east. As we go further on into May, look how the low pressure just begins to take over. So as we get into the opening days of May, it looks like it turns increasingly unsettled, with proper areas of low pressure getting going. And that doesn't look very inspiring, I have to say. By the 5th of May, as far as we can go with midnight GFS run, we are well and truly into cool and quite wet conditions. GEM looks like that. High pressure over Scandinavia on Wednesday. Winds in from the east. Lots of dry weather through to the end of the week. Although as pressure weakens, showers probably breaking out by Friday into next weekend. Again, it's not unsettled particularly, but just a weakening of pressure will probably allow some showers to break out. And then moving up towards day 10, we begin to move low pressure in from off the Atlantic, coming up against this blocking feature near Scandinavia and in the Norwegian Sea. So there's a battle going on again, but I think the suggestion is there that things to turn increasingly unsettled during the closing days of April. ECM, again, the high pressure is over Scandinavia on Wednesday. Winds are in from the east. Lots of dry weather up to the end of the coming week, and then next weekend showers break out as pressure begins to fall and pressure weakens. Although it's not until we move up towards day 10 that we start to get actual low pressure moving in from off the Atlantic. Now, actually, I've just noticed that is yesterday's ECM run. That's showing Saturday. I thought it looked familiar, so for some reason, the ECM hasn't updated at Wetter Central, so that's still showing yesterday's ECM run. So what do we do about that? I'll probably have to pause the video and see if it's updated at Metro Seal. So I will show the ECM in around 2 seconds. Okay, we're back, and I can show you the latest updated ECM run. Sorry about that, I just noticed it just at the last split second that at West Central it's still showing yesterday's ECM runs. I don't know what's gone wrong there, but this is today's. This is Sunday's from midnight Sunday 19th of April. So let's start again, and we've got high pressure around the middle part of the week, quite strong easy winds, which will be a bit on the chilly side. Then winds fall light as we get towards the end of the week. It begins to warm up, but as pressure weakens, showers could break out into the weekend. Again, we see a gradual decline with the ECM. We see a gradual decline in pressure, not particularly low pressure as such, but certainly the suggestion that things are becoming more and more unsettled as we head towards day 10. That is the chart for day 10, which is 29th of April, with today's ECM. And again, low pressure is coming in from off the Atlantic and deepening as well in the North Atlantic. We're down to 970 millibars, so that's turning increasingly westerly and rather cool. This is the precipitation forecast based on that ECM run. Going to be from Meteo.com. Going to be loads of dry weather coming up in the next few days up to the end of the week. There's no problem at all with precipitation. There's no problem at all with precipitation in the next few days. But as we go through towards the weekend, we're probably going to find that precipitation becomes heavier and a little bit more widespread. So this is taking us through to around a week's time. We've got showers beginning to break out in the south. Again, not particularly unsettled, but just some showers starting to break out. We get a bit heavier into this southeastern corner as we go through towards day 10. And then it starts to turn wetter in the north as well as we get towards day 10. So just a gradual gradual trend to turn things unsettled, really, as we come towards the end of April. CFSV 2 looks like that sees the 500 millibar highs break down to weak periods. The first week period takes from 19th to 25th of April, becoming week, dominated by high pressure. Winds are in from the east, going to be lots of dry and warm conditions coming up. Week 2 is the 26th of April to the 2nd of May. Low pressure then singes in from the east. High pressure is pushed off up towards Greenland, turns cooler and more unsettled as well. Week 3, again, looks quite unsettled. Low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic with westerlies. So that looks quite unsettled in week 3. That's the 3rd to the 9th of May. And then week 4, northern blocking. So this is the 10th to the 16th of May. Northern blocking, high pressure up towards Greenland, low pressure. Looks like it's probably still coming in from off the Atlantic. So maybe hints of a cool and unsettled first half to May. May overall, with the CFSV2, looks like this at the moment, 700 millibar high anomaly, still suggesting northern blocking, high pressure up to the north, winds probably in from the east. There could be a trough with this high pressure within the northern latitudes. There could be a trough of low pressure setting up underneath it, although it doesn't really show that. It's still going for a slightly milder than average month. The temperature looks like it's holding up reasonably well given the northern blocking. And no particular signal for May for precipitation. Right then, so that's GWV Sunday Round Up for this week. Been a very extended one. I hope you found it interesting and informative. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on video. Let us know that you enjoyed it through the comments and subscribe to the channel, and then you'll be notified when we have more content that you want to see. Right, so we shall be back in a couple of hours' time with the ECWF Measure France and DWD long range update, and then between 5 and 6 o'clock we've got our live stream coming up on the channel. We're all going to check in and see how we're all doing while we're in lockdown. The summer analogues update we place on the summer updates page at GWV.com this evening with a written summary. Get that up for you around 7, 8 o'clock tonight. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.